Maybe it's because I come from a place with consequences, but I ain't shocked by the Charlie Kirk shit at all. Where I'm from, right or wrong, if you do things that negatively impact other people's lives, there's a chance that could cost you your life. Like, say you put hands on your old lady. She goes back to her parents' house, beaten and bloody, and then her little brother sees it, decides he's had enough. He goes over to that house and he puts 3 in your chest. Ultimately, he's dead because the little brother decided to pull the trigger, but we're gonna act like the hillbilly didn't have no part to play in that? Or maybe it's because I'm on the side that has historically had all of the consequences heaped upon them. Like, we're the ones who always get assassinated. Harry T. Moore, Medgar Evers, Huey Long, Harvey Milk, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton, the list goes on. None of them wanted to die. And to be sure, they died because someone came and pulled the trigger. They didn't make that decision. But we're gonna act like that decision wasn't visited upon them because they decided to challenge the status quo, because they decided to negatively impact the ruling class? Now I've got a situation where I have an individual who has spent the last decade trying to strip the humanity away from everybody that he deemed lesser, out here impacting the lives of thousands, if not millions of people negatively, and I'm supposed to pretend like there are going to be no consequences. Again, whenever you do the type of things that impact, you don't know how you're impacting people's lives. You have no idea what your words or how they will affect somebody. We recognize this as leftists. I understand there's going to be people who don't like the shit that I have to say. It's cops right now who would love to put me in a bag. I get that. I go do it anyway because I believe that what I'm talking is worth dying for. I hope that Charlie Kirk feels the same, because whenever you get out here and you do the type of things that impact people negatively, you need to expect that those people you negatively impact are going to come visit consequences upon you. For right or wrong, it doesn't matter. In my world, that's the reality, and you should expect that it's going to come whether it does or not. I expect my retribution to come from the ruling class. Charlie Kirk is going to have to look out for it from every minority group that he's ever demonized. Moral of the story is, if you're going to be out here trying to impact people's lives negatively, you better believe in what the fuck it is you're fighting for. As always, bro, I appreciate y'all taking the time. Much love. Y'all have a good one.
The Charlie Kirk shooter is not trans. It's not an immigrant or a person of color or any of the premature labels that MAGA gave him before he was even arrested, before we even knew anything about him. But if you went to some of these MAGA influencer pages over the past 24 to 48 hours, you would have thought that they had him all figured out. You know, they were saying it's some blue-haired, crazy liberal who drives an electric vehicle everywhere or whatever crap that they were saying. But they had no idea, and we have no idea. To me, and I'm just speculating here, so take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, it looks like a case of radicalization. This looks like a young man who grew up in a Republican family in a conservative state, who had a lot of access to firearms, who found himself too deep in internet culture, going down those dark rabbit holes and becoming crazy and doing something tragic because of that insanity. I don't know if this is left-wing or right-wing radicalization. I genuinely don't know. We don't know. Nobody has any idea yet. Authorities have not said anything about it. But man, what a sad situation, and it's so frustrating to see people in this space, the political space, especially on the right, pretending to know everything about this guy and the motive. Come on, man.
So here's a list of people who conservatives had zero empathy for after what happened to them. George Floyd, Melissa Hortman, Breonna Taylor, John Hoffman, and Paul Pelosi. And this is just a short list. But not only did they have zero empathy for these people, but they came up with jokes and ridiculous conspiracy theories in order to absolve themselves of any personal responsibility. On top of that, the president's son had a Halloween costume that was just a set of underwear and a hammer to make fun of Paul Pelosi getting attacked. So do they deserve any sympathy from the left over what happened to Charlie Kirk? No. No, they don't. But do I still have empathy for what happened to Charlie? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I think what happened to Charlie is an awful thing. I also think that he was an awful guy. I have both those feelings at the same time. I think what happened is sad and shocking. It's extremely shocking when someone gets publicly executed like that, no matter who they are. And frankly, terrifying that we live in a country where we have to worry about this type of thing. Now, guys, I'm not going to come on here and wag my finger at other people and tell them how they should react to this, especially because I'm a straight white guy. All of Charlie Kirk's harmful rhetoric was never aimed at me. So I feel like it's not my place to wag my finger at other people as to how they're reacting to this. But I will tell you, for me, I am sad and shocked by all this. And I'm all for fighting fire with fire when it comes to insults, gerrymandering, even money in politics. I'm down for fighting fire with fire. But when it comes to political violence, at a certain point, we're all just standing around in the same burning down house. So I'm choosing to hold on to compassion for as long as I can, even if it's misplaced and undeserved. Because I'm sure that if the roles were reversed and someone on the left had died like this, Charlie would be on the internet today, making money, blaming the left. I'm sure he would. But I don't want to be like Charlie. And I don't want to be like Trump. I want to be better than them. Anyway, guys, this is just how I've been feeling. Again, please don't throw tomatoes at me if you had a different reaction to this. I think it's understandable that different people have different reactions to this. This is just mine, all right? So I love you guys. Please be well, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
Hey, it's Joe from Georgia. So the shooter in the Charlie Kirk case, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, as we know, has been brought into custody. And now we get the opportunity to look on his internet activity. Well, guess what, folks? He was a non-affiliated voter in Utah. He wasn't a leftist or a Democrat. However, he did donate $224 to the Donald Trump campaign. He also dressed up as Donald Trump for Halloween. He had a problem with Charlie Kirk. Undoubtedly, he said that Charlie Kirk spread hate. But you know, we did have the president going out trashing the people on the left and Democrats, saying they're the ones who did this. Well, folks, guess what? It was one of your own. He was MAGA for a while. Now he's just an unaffiliated voter who didn't like Charlie Kirk. Also, on those bullet casings, there was nothing about transgender identity on it. And the FBI's came out there and said, yeah, that was a mistake. So folks, don't always believe the narratives until the person, because all this was happening and saying this about the left and demonizing the left even before someone was arrested. Well, now they're arrested, and we find out that he was nothing that the MAGA side wanted to say. Nothing like the president said. Raised in a Republican household, he's a non-affiliated voter. He gave money to the Donald Trump campaign. He even dressed as Donald Trump for Halloween. So who do you think he supported?
And I'm seeing this video where, it's like a neo-Nazism, they are calling for white man to fight back. I can't prove if it's the correct video, if it's the correct video against Charlie Kirk or what happened to the Charlotte train stabbing. But guys, those MAGA influencers have been calling for a civil war against the Democrats. But you've seen, what we've gathered so far. The shooter isn't MAGA. The shooter isn't black. The shooter is a white skin. The shooter is a Republican. But the shooter, let's not say this is the Republicans. But that shooter is a person who has mental disease. That person doesn't deserve to live among people, among any living thing.
What just happened with Charlie Kirk was an entirely predictable scenario. And it is a sign that things are going to get worse for our country, for our democracy, for our security. They're going to get much worse before they even begin to come anywhere close to getting better. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chris Goldsmith, former Army Sergeant, and founder of Task Force Butler Institute and Veterans Fighting Fascism. My organizations train veterans in open source intelligence research. We infiltrate and expose extremist organizations. I have personally been studying disinformation, misinformation, foreign troll farms, and I've been studying figures like Charlie Kirk and his Turning Point USA and the effect that he has had on our country over the last 10 years. I am not excusing or condoning what happened to Charlie Kirk on that stage. I'm certainly not celebrating it. But as someone who has studied him and extremist movements for years, I am saying that he made the bed that he's now laying in. This is not about the Second Amendment or his views on whether or not people should be able to own any certain types of weapon. And I'm not blaming the victim, to be clear. But what I am saying is that Charlie Kirk was a big enough influence in our country to change the heart of our politics by demonizing, by targeting vulnerable communities, by turning political opponents into enemies, and by helping foster a culture where young, angry white men lash out and are expected to lash out. Charlie Kirk played a large role in making political violence in our country more acceptable, more common, more of the norm. And we will all have to deal with that long after he's gone. Now, my objective here is not to make you feel hopeless. In fact, it's the opposite. I want you to understand that there is going to be some political retribution. Donald Trump and his MAGA sycophants are going to lash out. They are going to use the virtually unchecked powers of the executive branch in the United States to lash out against their political enemies. And this is not something that's going to happen tomorrow or next week or next month. This is the new norm. Charlie Kirk will be remembered as a martyr for MAGA. And what happened to him on that stage will be used to justify political violence. It will be used to justify state violence against American citizens. All of this is bad. But again, my objective here is not to make you feel hopeless. It is to let you know that you can either sit back and let things happen or be an active force for good. If you have the same privileges that I have, I'm a white, bald guy with a beard and tattoos. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, and I am someone who exercises my Second Amendment. I am someone who can interact with law enforcement safely because of the way that I look and because of the sound of my voice or accent. If you have these privileges, you have a responsibility. That is why I created Veterans Fighting Fascism. Communities all across this nation are vulnerable right now. There are lots of folks who are afraid. Being afraid doesn't make you a coward, it makes you recognize that there is risk. And even those with privilege will always face some risk. But I want to encourage you to get organized at the local level, because protecting your community and more vulnerable communities in your neighborhood, especially those who don't necessarily feel safe around people who wear uniforms for good reason. That is something that you can do through online and real-world activism. We have seen, for example, the city of Chicago, the people of Chicago, the local government of Chicago and Illinois saying no to fascism. They do not want troops from other states coming into their city, to their state. And because the reaction has been so strong, Trump's administration looks like they're going to back down. At least that's what it looks like right now. That came from people hanging signs in their windows. They didn't even have to leave their house. That came from people who did leave the house, marching peacefully through the street. It came from journalists covering the impact that ICE is having on their local neighborhoods and communities. And it came from local politicians knowing that they have the backing of their citizens when they say no. The objective of the authoritarian is to make you feel powerless. And if you know anything about history, you know that authoritarians use political violence to escalate further political violence. You know that fascist movements use martyrs as inspiration to recruit, radicalize, and victimize. There has never been a more critical time for you to get activated into anti-fascist activism. If you want to learn more about what you can do and about the history of fascism and how to fight against authoritarians, I want to encourage you to start your own anti-fascist book club. If you go to veteransfightingfascism.org, there is an instruction manual on how you can gather your local community and you can start engaging in building a real close-knit, tight community who can respond when the inevitable retaliation and escalation comes. Authoritarians try to rewrite history because history can teach us how to fight them. At veteransfightingfascism.org, we have a list of books that will help you learn about this history, this fight. And our guide teaches you how to facilitate meetings of the anti-fascist book club. And whether you're doing it online or in person, and I want to encourage the in-person version, you can play a role in protecting your community from what is going to come. It's okay to feel despair. It's okay to feel afraid. That just shows that you have a heart, that you're smart. I want to encourage you to take those emotions, take those feelings, and channel them into something good, something positive to build your community and protect your community. To learn how, go to veteransfightingfascism.org and download our free guide for creating an anti-fascist book club.
Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, a conservative firebrand to the right, he was a warrior for a free speech. To the left, a symbol of racism, misogyny, and hate. And just 2 days ago, during a heated debate on a gun violence at Utah Valley, he was assassinated or murdered. Tragic, yes, but his death has reignited the fight over his legacy. If you go today in Twitter, you can see a very controversial, a very heated argument. So today, we are counting 12 controversial moments that made millions despise him. These are the viral clips and sound bites and the speeches that spark outrage, protest, and boycotts. Buckle up and viewer discretion is advised as this is getting heated. So smash that like button if you're here for the unfiltered truth, and hit subscribe for more deeper dives and jump right in. So also don't forget to actually join my membership, where I'll be offering a free actually lessons every Saturday. So number 12 is empathy is the enemy. So at number 12, Kirk said empathy is dangerous. On his 2023 radio show, he argued empathy makes America weak, that it softens us on crime and immigration. So critic calls this a sociopathic. One of the viral polls read, Kirk just greenlight bullying as patriotism. That clip alone, it set social media on fire. Number 11, let's talk about the gun death as worth it. So Kirk told the TPUSA faith crowd that gun death were in quote worth it to protect the Second Amendment. This hit hard, especially as mass shootings dominated headlines. Gun safety groups call it cautious, and exploded with the hashtag #KirkHateKids. Because let's be honest, why would you say that guns are necessary, to protect this the amendment, and there are school shooting? People are being sprayed bullets when they are gathering. Number 10 is Kirk attacked Martin Luther King Jr. in 2023 speech. He called King awful and even suggested that Civil Rights Act was a mistake. Civil rights group condemned it as racial revisionism. Protests shut down in every next campus event. And ladies and gentlemen, this is one man. We condemn what is happening, but see what these things are done. So he said Civil Rights Act as a mistake. So doubling down on the same rant, he argued that Civil Rights Act of 1964 created a quote, as in quote, island of totalitarianism. For many Americans, that sounded like a dog whistle against equality and against equality itself. And the issue that broke internet, you remember the story of George Floyd weather, where it caused a very big, what we called demonstration across America. So Kirk dismissed that George Floyd as a scumbag. The clip resurfaced in 2023, which ignited fury among Americans. Critics even said it minimized systematic racism. The backlash was intense, including death threats and cancelled appearance. And among one of these events, I say, the knee at the neck was very necessary. And let's talk about the single mom of America and even other world. Kirk blamed single mom. Reason? He claimed that Chicago gun violence came from single black mothers and broken culture. The NAACP call it poisonous stereotyping with the hashtag Kirk is racist, which trended for many days in America, and people are very furious. If you scroll in X and search this clip, you can actually see it. I even talked about what you call LGBT and its, and in Kirk world, during a campus Q&A, Kirk mused about biblical punishment. He said that in an ideal world, Old Testament's law, like stoning LGBTQ plus people, could apply. So he even called what? He called for stoning. The advocates call it hate speech. And as usual, demonstrations, protests are erupted everywhere. So this is a person that, I think he saw it coming. Because I think even when people have been talking, you've seen that this guy was having a bulletproof vest. So Kirk opposed abortion even for rape victims, including a hypothetical 10-year-old daughter. Women's rights group blasted it as barbaric. Online critics says Kirk extremism is dangerous to children. And there was the woman who was asking herself, if I'm raped, am I supposed to keep that, kid whom I didn't want on my will? But the guy says, just say yes, And even there's this issue of actually hate against black women, or black women, he said, lack mental capacity. So Clark implied women, including Supreme Court Judge, imagine, Supreme Court Judge Brown Jackson, lack the mental capacity for the leadership. Feminist and civil rights leaders call it racist and sexist. And even hashtag Kirk hate women. So let's talk about this. This person, has been driving hate, and there's this always the saying that say, if you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword. And even somebody said the tongue is the smallest part, but whatever it drives out, it drives hate. It can make a story building to collapse. It can demolish a story building to collapse. And this is what was happening to our friends here. We condemn gun violence. We condemn hate due to free speech. But let's be realistic, guys. These things that are happening, it's causing many people to actually feel like, what's happening? And you do remember the issue with the black pilot when he said that if he ended the plane and see a black pilot, in his word he say, boy, I hope he is qualified. So this guy, stand out as a racist, and even aviation groups slammed it as dangerous stereotyping, and critics warned it fueled mistrust in professional diversity. So this person, he didn't believe that these are kind of people who can go to school, learn, and be pilots. Let's talk about the great replacement theory, or the great replacement theory. Through his speeches, both internal and external, you see even what happened when he was giving a speech in Japan. He warned of immigrants and prowling blacks overtaking American culture, and even warned, that Japan is losing it if they're having a large number of immigrants. And what about this? The protests erupt. So this is one person that is being even hated by how Democrats hate Trump, because this cut across these people, because there are black people who are Democrats and Republicans. Imagine you are a Republican pilot You know what? And this person, the person that's supposed maybe to, validate you, the person that is supposed to be very happy with you guys, is the same person that is calling you out, is the same person that doesn't believe in yourself. And this is the kind of life that our guy lived. You've seen how the white have pulled out receipts. You've seen how people have been talking. People bringing up the Kirk past. So tell me in the comment section, what do you think? Is this thing coming to haunt Kirk in his grave? Till next time, thank you.